Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good guten Tag, wherever you might be. This is the Fireside Chat number 58 with our special guest, Jeff Holiday.
Hello, 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 everybody. How you doing out there?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. I'm feeling pretty well, feeling pretty peppy,
All
in a good
right.
mood.
Nice. And I see that our chat is excited. There's a lot
Good.
of buzz going on. So I'm going to be looking out for you guys. You might notice, for those of you who are watching the stream, there is a word balloon over my head that is currently empty. Well, if you want to put words in my mouth, what you should do is what you should do is either become a patron or put in something into the super chat, and the Doge will give you a shout out, and I will also vocalize it myself. So you're gonna get double shout outs in the cartoon world and in the real world. So let's go ahead and get into the interview. It's not really an interview. It's just just shooting the shit kind of thing.
Shooting
So
shit, yeah.
yeah,
It's
we're introducing people to other people that make content online, whether they agree with us, disagree with us, fall somewhere in between, whatever.
sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I want to ask you though,
Yes.
why did you start making videos? This is always I ask everybody this question.
Ooh.
I get different answers, but why did you say, you know what, I want to start doing stuff on YouTube? What made you want to do that?
The reason I started actually is really it's actually because of laziness. I was involved really heavily with science and skepticism on Facebook, like a whole lot, mostly because of like anti-GMO, anti-vaccine people. And I got really fucking tired of having to type out the same old fucking thing every single time. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a video and upload it and basically be like, this is why you're stupid, this is why you're wrong, this is my information, this is my evidence, and like full citations and everything. And that
Mm-hmm.
way, if I had to say, the same old thing, I'd just be like, here, go watch this. I can't fuck with this anymore. So it was all
Right.
laziness.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, we got a $2. Oh no, £2. Sorry, £2. That's my American privilege coming out from Steve Dave saying, "Oh shit, it's the guy from Corn."
It's
So there
true.
you
It's
go.
true. Our new album will be out later this year.
Finally. And Wild Tanuki also gave us $2 and says, "Jeff, are you a big fan of Steel Panther?"
Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot. There's some memes that will follow me everywhere, no matter where I go. One is Steel Panthers. Some people know how I feel about Steel Panthers. I feel equally about the same for each member of Steel Panthers. Wild Tanuki, thank you,
All right, there you go.
bastard. Every
So
time.
you started making videos for those reasons. What do you think? All right, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that your content may have evolved or changed in some way from when you started to now, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Everyone's
quite a bit.
has. I scrolled. I watched a good number of your videos, but I scrolled to the beginning to see, and I had noticed a shift. But I think for a lot of folks there was a shift too. So how do you think your content has changed?
I think a lot of it, I think YouTube in and of itself changed a lot. It sounds like kind of a rote answer, but I think Gamergate had a lot to do with it. But that wasn't the thing that changed for me. What changed for me was that a lot of these channels that started popping up and these personalities happened because of Gamergate. I started paying attention to them, and it was specifically Kevin Logan trying to take the piss out of Shoe on Head, and I was a huge Shoe on Head fan,
I
which
find
compelled me
it
to like.
very interesting. That's my Kevin Logan impression. Um,
This silly boxy wannabe, and I decided to white knight, and that got me into the shit flinging part of YouTube, which is fun.
mhm.
A lot of fun.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, that evolved too. Like the past few months, a lot of it seemed to be kind of. It's just kind of it's kind of overdone a little bit now. So I'm trying to diversify and do different, interesting, fun things, and get more active into like trying to make a change about stuff. So
Mm. All right. And so you're a gamer, or were you, or are you?
I when I have the free time to, I usually don't have the free time to, but yeah, I do. I love video games.
So
Absolutely
yes,
love them.
you're basically mastering the game of being a dad. You're trying to get all
Yes.
the achievements.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
So
I got a ways to go.
yeah. Real quick shout outs to Nick Goroff, who is in the chat. What's up, Nick? I knew that you would be here somehow. And Blair White, I know you by the check mark next to your name, Blair. I want you to come on Friday. Can you do that? I've been kind of hounding you a bit, so if you can.
We also had Adam from Your Movie Sucks. He popped in for a minute.
Oh yeah, I've been talking to Adam actually. Oh shit,
I love
maybe
Adam.
I shouldn't have said
He's a great
that.
guy.
I'm sorry, Adam. I may have gotten you in trouble because you talked to us, and you shouldn't be talking to honey badgers. Okay, so well, here's something that I thought would be interesting. All right,
Sure.
I watch a lot of YouTube, and the things that I have an interest in are looking at people who have interesting sort of counter mainstream points of view. I have an interest in what they have to say, even if I don't agree with them. For example, I watched a stream yesterday with Bering, and I think his name is oh shit, what was his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, and they were talking about free speech and stuff, and or what his sort of definition of what that is, and some of the stuff that he said was that he would consider sort of like a done deal in the same way that Steve Shives has said, well, there are some conversations that don't need to be had anymore. I was like, well, but that's no fun, because I like to see the flat earthers. I want to see what they have to say, to be quite honest. I actually had a flat earther. I am not shitting you at all. Out of the blue, because we don't make content about flat earthers on HBR. We don't talk about that. We focus on men's issues, if at all possible.
Absolutely.
And he sent me a message because he saw my artwork, and he was like, Mr. Doge, because he assumed that was my name, I guess. Could you please make me a piece of artwork? And I was like, sure, I'll tell you how much it is. And I didn't know what he was about. And he says, okay, so here's the deal. I'm a flat earther, and this is what I want. And he actually had me make him a drawing of himself as Morpheus from the Matrix, holding a spherical Earth in one hand and a flat Earth in the other hand, as though they are the pills. And he was offering them up. Right?
Oh shit!
And I was like, you know what? I had a moment where I was like, okay, if I make this artwork, will people think that I agree with this guy's point of view, or do I want to make some money? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make your fucking artwork. And so I did. Yeah. And so I did. And I thought, this is hilarious stuff. So I guess on the topic of all this, what I'm getting at is I like to see what people have to say, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, or even if I think they're batshit insane. I want to hear the best arguments. That's actually one of the reasons why I ended up here on HBR, is because I'm a guy looking to get to the truth, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you would call that. So I wanted to ask you just what your opinion is, okay? What's the difference between a skeptic, an anti-SJW, and a men's rights activist?
Shit. Wow, that's an interesting one. Like all these types of labels are really subjective ultimately. If you break down the basic function of what most of these labels are supposed to mean, they all fundamentally agree on the basic ideas that build up Western morality. Like, everybody believes in like 95% of the same amount of shit. We all believe the same things. It's the minutia that really, really matters in how people want to define, how they collectively start to gather, and how they want to then have a platform to build off of. I think that anti-SJW is just it's more like buzz slang for a pejorative slang that was thrown out there. And you have these labels like Shitlord, for instance, and it'll mean a pejorative to one person, for another it's a label to brand as defiance.
It's like being my nigga versus the other thing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so I think, and I hate the label skeptic. I've always loathed the label skeptic, because it's like, skepticism is a tool. Skepticism is like a method.
No, it's not. It's a superpower that only a few of us are gifted with. The power of skepticism. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a secret cabal that organizes the resistance against the status quo or some shit. But men's rights activist is another one that's very subjective. But I feel like when people decide to take on the term men's rights activist, it's because they're explicitly stating that that's going to be their first priority. Like that is what they are prioritizing. It's the same thing with like feminists. There are plenty of feminists I know who actually really care about men's issues, but they identify as a feminist because they care about women's issues first,
Yeah.
and men's issues afterwards. So I think that's really like the basic structure behind it.
Yeah, that's all fair. I think that I don't like. I've always been somebody who didn't like labels, but if it's sort of like, okay, have you ever met a guy or a girl for that matter? I don't want to be sexist, who has introduced themselves to you and they tell you, this is my nickname. Have you ever
Sure.
had, okay. See, I knew a guy who did that where he said, hey man, everybody calls me Tracer. And I was like, but what's your name? That was, and I didn't mean to be an asshole, but when somebody tells you this is what you should call me, I'm almost, and it's just my rebellious side, I'm almost completely tempted to just not do it based on that. However, I do think that people earn, or they might develop a nickname or a title or a label based on their actions, and that's more
Sure.
like how I roll. So if somebody says Brian is a men's rights activist because I've seen him do advocacy for men's issues,
Sure.
then I'm not going to say, well, no, you're wrong. I'm just going to be like, well, I guess if that's what you think, but I'm not going to walk around wearing it because I think that's what it's like a form of virtue signaling. It's kind of cheap, and I'm more of like the opinion of, if you believe in something, then just act on it, and then if
Sure.
people say that is a thing, then that's fine, whatever.
I think it's also, and I agree with you. I absolutely agree. I share a very similar point of view. I think it's interesting too, especially bringing up nicknames, because I think a lot of people these days, especially over the past like year and a half, 2 years, have taken the idea of a nickname and how some people choose to have a nickname to basically identify parts of their personality, and they want people to respect that. Well, there's really no difference between that and some of the really preposterous pronouns that people will create, like the really preposterous ones out there. And to me, when somebody is like, actually, my pronoun is Zir, I don't know if everybody's seen the new Guardians movie, but to me, all I hear is, my name is Taserface.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. It's exactly right. Taserface, right?
Okay. Okay, Taserface.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll try.
A couple more shout outs from the chat. Polaris589 gave us $5 and says, Jeffrey Tits, stop being a pussy and go on Drunken Peasants.
I have a standing invitation from TJ. All I got to do is just go up to Seattle, and then I'll be on it.
Are you close to Seattle? Are you on the West Coast?
Yeah, I'm in Eugene, Oregon, so it's about it's like a 5.5-hour drive, but I'd probably take the train and just chill.
Eugene, Oregon sounds far quieter than Chicago does, which is where I am.
It is very quiet. Very quiet.
Crow,
very annoying.
Crow, yeah, I like the noise of the city. Crow gave us $5. Thank you, Crow. He says, this isn't the format I know. This format is blasphemy. Praise the one true format, Chatelet. Well, Chatelet, my dude, I don't know what to do about the format. We do have a couple different versions, but the Fireside Chat is the chillest, hence the fireplace.
It's chill.
Yes.
Yeah, we have an ongoing on our weekly show that me and Wizard of Cause do, the YouTube Saints. It's an ongoing joke of the format. The format is why the show works. It's because of the format.
Polaris589 gave us $10. Thank you, Polaris. Subscribe to Madman Ministries for all your heavy metal needs. Was that an ad? I think that was
Maybe.
an ad.
It was a paid ad, so whatever.
We'll take it. All right, because we're filthy capitalists on top of everything else. So, speaking of MRAs, did you happen to see Cassie J's film, The Red Pill?
I did, and I loved it. And I think Karen and Allison and everybody was wonderful in it. Absolutely wonderful.
And was there anything about the movie that you didn't know that you were made aware of, or did you
Not
pretty
really.
much know everything that it was about?
I was pretty up on most of it. I mean, before I pretty much tossed away using any labels on myself, I would have identified myself as quite a bit of an MRA myself. Like I've done charity work to try and help a guy with some legal fees for a custody case and that sort of thing. I'm pretty well versed in it. It's mostly just a lot of it was the stories that completely blew me away. Some of the statistics were a lot worse than I was aware of, and that was pretty startling to me.
Like which ones? Like the a lot of people are surprised by the domestic violence one. That was one that.
I was not surprised about the domestic violence one. I've been. I hate using either term, either survivor or victim. I was immersed in some very, very nasty domestic violence that was enacted upon me at one point. So I wasn't surprised about
You were
that.
entrenched.
I was entrenched. Yeah. Oh my God. No, I was entrenched. I was very invested, trying to keep a very self-destructive person from hurting herself to the point that I just got hurt a lot, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there is one thing that Cassie left out a bit, but I guess it wasn't entirely relevant, and that is the rates, because she mentions, I think it's like 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence. But one of the things that she doesn't, it goes a little bit deeper than that, because when you include same-sex relationships, it's really interesting. I don't know if you know about that, but
I've heard rumor, but I've never seen any statistics to back it up. But actually, isn't it lesbian couples experience an immense amount of domestic violence?
Yes. Lesbian couples are far more likely to engage in domestic violence, which is more often than not mutual, so it's like a two-way street. And homosexual men are most likely to experience the least amount of domestic violence.
Well, damn.
I know, it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously this doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I'm sure that somebody in the chat's going to say, I know a gay man who... No, I get it. But we're talking, in broader terms. But I thought that was extremely interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I do know a gay couple where one of them gets pretty savage on the other, but I mean, like that's actually kind of the point of their sexual relationship.
Oh, well, okay. It's a different animal. Okay, so what are your I know you make a lot of videos debunking various different sort of, videos and content, as well as talking about your thoughts on things. I think you just made one about depression.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, I did.
Was one of your last videos. So this is like your umbrella is wide. You cover lots of different topics. But what are your thoughts on MRAs? Be honest. Be brutal if you want.
Oh no, and I honestly the most brutal criticism I can give about the men's rights movement is not. The thing is, the biggest problem with the men's rights movement is that it has a lack of good press, and that's one of the reasons why I was really happy about the Red Pill documentary, because it has the ability to very widely restructure how people assume what the men's rights movement is all about. Mm-hmm. Far too often, people are just going to take the first impression. That first impression is filtered through a more socially progressive, quote unquote, usually very feminist media presence, and it's very easy for it to be quickly demonized. My biggest criticism I have had in the past. I'm a lot warmer to him and his words now, but I had very strong criticisms of Paul Elam. And it wasn't because I know how to read a controversial article, and I know how to discern like what the actual message is and to not act emotionally, but I don't think most people are. And Paul has really good points, and I felt like he used such incendiary rhetoric. I'm like, oh, you're hurting the message. But I also know why he does it, and I respect the man quite a bit for it. But I think it's just bad press. It's bad. Yeah.
His approach is certainly it's about like trying to get attention, to get eyes on him, and as to whether or not that's going to that's going to prove to be sort of tactically wise or sound, I guess that remains to be seen. Although it did get Cassie J's attention. You'd have to be the kind of person that would essentially be like, okay, this makes look bad on the surface, but I think I want to dig deeper and find out what's going on, you know.
Sure.
And
You know, I maybe to be as charitable as possible, because like again, I actually do like Paul, especially these days, a lot more than I did before. Maybe the weakness isn't necessarily because it's something that Paul was doing wrong. I won't say that I would levy that criticism on him. I think maybe the only real failing is Paul being far too charitable for basic mainstream people to really hear him, you know. And
Mhm.
it's like the old saying, you know, you can't be subversive if you're not successful. Like you can't say something was subversive if it didn't work.
Right.
So it's just that, and it's something that I think about a lot too when I'm trying to formulate exactly how I want to go about the stuff that I want to talk about. You know,
Mhm.
I want it to work. I don't want to like I wanted to have exactly the effect that I wanted to, and I hit it a lot, but there's some times that I just do not, and I fuck it up bad.
Right. Right.
So
All right. Those are fair things, actually. I think that one of the things that I've noticed about people who are pretty active, I'll say about the honey badgers in general, is that
mm,
many of us are pretty introverted, and we actually did not want to do what we're doing. It doesn't really suit our strengths, as it were.
sure.
But then again, pretty good in front of a camera. Like if you've ever met Dr. Ranimer Cam in real life, you'd realize that he is really, really quiet and nothing like the character that you see,
I love
on the
Mike. I
camera.
love
No,
Mike.
Mike's great. He's awesome. I mean, I hang out with him whenever we go to a thing. It's usually Mike and I are hanging out, and he's a great guy. But yes, a completely different personality. So
Mhm.
sometimes I wonder if what we need is somebody that's going to have a little bit more sizzle, like in
Mm,
person, like a
mm,
personality.
right.
And I don't know, maybe,
Public speaking,
yeah.
a firebrand to put in front of a podium that will maximize the impact of every word that's stated. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
and that's just persuasive. It's persuasive communication, and it's a hard skill to learn. It's really hard. Before I started doing YouTube, if you have me in a social situation, I'm very open and charismatic and very engaging with people.
Right.
But I was horrified of the idea of speaking
Me
like to
too.
people that I didn't know. Now I love it.
Oh yeah,
Now I
I,
like
I'm
it.
I'm just like that. I was we just did this on a stream yesterday with Paul and Tom Golden,
Mhm,
and we were talking about anxiety, social anxiety. There's
mhm.
a lot of men struggle with it. Actually, from what I hear about Tom Golden, I believe he said that men that have lower levels of testosterone suffer from far more anxiety.
I
And
can believe it.
when I was a kid, I was a shy kid, very, very like to myself. I'd like have a small number of friends, and we go dig up worms and shit when I was really
Mhm.
little. And when I got into high school, I was super duper shy. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I would have like panic attacks from
Mhm.
having to get up in front of the class to do something, even though I was confident in my ability to do it because I was a smart kid. Got into a gifted
Sure.
program and everything. And somehow, I don't know how this worked out, but I ended up becoming more extroverted after I was done with high school. I think what happened was I had to take
Mm.
jobs in the service industry, and I needed to do the job well because I needed the money. And so you end
Right.
up working for people, in front of people, and over time, you learn to that you have to talk to them, and then you figure out that they're just people. Like
Yep.
my first job I ever took was a busboy at a restaurant, and I actually got to meet Woody Harrelson and
Mm.
Robert Downey Jr. and
Wow.
Paula Abdul.
Nice.
But what I mean is, I waited at a table that Woody Harrelson was at, so I didn't
Mhm.
really talk to him or hang. We didn't have beers. I was like 19 years old, but I knew who he was. And I gave Robert Downey Jr. directions because he was drunk as fuck. This was, by the way, this was the dark time for Robert Downey Jr. Okay,
Sure.
this was during the dark period after Chaplin came out, I think. And then Paula Abdul she came into my restaurant during the daytime, and it was just her and some guy. And I knew who she was, but I didn't really care. Like by that time, my starstruck stuff was gone. Like I love Hollywood, I love films and everything, but I'm
Mhm.
not starstruck by them. More
Right.
so, it's by people who have great ideas. Like when I got Jordan Peterson on, I was like, holy shit, I got Jordan
Yeah.
Peterson on the stream, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. But I was basically, my point is that I got through, somehow I managed to evolve from extreme introvert to somewhat a gregarious extrovert. So,
Absolutely. When I was growing up, I was pretty introverted as well, but I mastered it out of necessity. You know, same as you. Like necessity will pull you out of some of those things. And out of necessity for various reasons, I just became more of like the class clown ish for a while. And I don't know. It trying to remember what the specific turning point was for me when I decided to become really open and engaging. No, I do actually. I remember it very specifically. I was always afraid of strangers. I was always afraid of like talking to somebody that I'd never talked to before. And there was this friend of the family. I had grown up with their family for a long time. You know, the kids were friends with me. My dad was good friends with the dad. And the dad and the mom got divorced. And she, a few years later, remarried a guy. And we go to the wedding. And the groom has no family anywhere on this side of the country. And as everybody's talking and everybody's swarming around her, he's standing off to the side, and he seems very, very lonely and very uncomfortable and out of touch. And I was about 9 years old, and it just kind of clicked in my head, like, that guy is very uncomfortable. He's really, I don't know, he doesn't feel like he's connecting with anybody, and nobody's talking to him, and he's supposed to be getting married. So I walked up to him. I'm not going to be the only person who's alone and freaked out by this, and I stuck my hand out, and I introduced myself. And then I just started asking him questions because I didn't know anything to say. I was a little kid, you know, like, what the fuck are you supposed to say to like a grown adult? Like, I like the color. No.
Yeah.
So I just asked him questions, and he just started to relax. And I realized that doing that, I could make myself more comfortable by making other people comfortable. And that's where I started learning how to come out of my shell a bit.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I did it too. I mean, when you work in the service industry, you're basically, your job is asking questions and fulfilling requests. And then as you go, you know, you start taking different kinds of jobs, you end up building, you know, people like, they confided in me sometimes. It was weird. Like, you know, like tell me about shit going on in their life. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm just a busboy. I don't. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting stuff.
I was really hoping when you took Paul Abdul's order, you're like, straight up, now tell me, would you like hash browns or fries? Oh. Great.
Yeah, right. I think it was around the time Opposites Attract had come out, so I was like, oh my god, I'm over this chick. You remember that one with the cartoon rap cats or whatever?
That was fantastic. Holy shit.
I think Cool World was new. I don't know. There was definitely people trying to put cartoons into the real world a lot, so pretty hilarious stuff. So Nick had a question. He wanted to ask us if we're going to be at VidCon. Are you going to be going to VidCon this year?
Oh, I am. Yeah. Me and Nick are going to do a show. We're going to do the YouTube Saints at VidCon. Last thing I heard, me and Memory are going to VidCon. We're rooming with Blair, and then next door to us is the Warskis and Mr. Repzion. So,
oh, nice.
Like just a shit ton of people that are all coming together. We're all going to hang out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we're actually going to. Honey Badgers are going to be at
Sweet.
VidCon too. So, like the Australia thing is something that we really feel is important, but we're going to California either way. So that's happening regardless. And I think it actually works out to where we're going to go to Australia for the ICMI and then go right from there to California for VidCon and then come.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. We're all going to have to go drink.
Yeah, I'm going to be fucking exhausted. But we got to do it. I mean, fuck this body. I only have one, but I'm going to use it up. So,
yep.
So no, that sounds awesome, man. That sounds great. So I don't know. Have you ever heard of honey badgers? What do you know about us?
Oh yeah, no. I've watched tons of you guys' episodes of content. You and I have actually been on a stream at least once, maybe twice too.
I think so.
Happened.
I'm sure it has. Okay, tell me when it happened.
I don't remember what it was. I don't.
You just remember that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Allison on for Quiplash before. I've talked to Karen, I think twice on a stream, and I'm pretty sure either once or twice you and I were in a stream together, because I remember your Doge avatar.
Yes.
So
You know what?
yeah,
Okay. You know what? I think I do remember. I was on a stream with Sargon once with a lot of other people, and I think you may have been on it. I remember
that might have been
Sargon
it.
complimenting my Doge avatar. He was like, "I love that. That's amazing." And then I was on a stream way back during the days of Gamergate that was hosted by the Salt Mine, and we were playing this card game. It was a drinking game,
Mm.
and it was a card game where you had to identify the gender, you had to define the gender, and it was a stack of 300 digital cards, each one having it was more than 300, and you had to define the gender, and Robin Gething was actually hosting it. And there were a lot of people. I was on there with Harmful Opinions, but there were a bunch of other people. Yes, Harmful Opinions is God. In case somebody asks. So but yeah. Oh, and Allison says, I'm spreading misinformation, lies and propaganda. Apparently, we might be going to Australia.
Oh.
And I said that. But to clarify, we might be going. All right.
Absolutely.
Let me see what the chat's got here. Because we got through these questions quick. And I had 6, and I figured this will go for a while. But let's see what the chat's up to. I'm gonna be super casual today.
Exposition.
Somebody said, say the skeptic community. I don't know who he said this to.
Probably
so
me.
you
People
go.
know I hate the whole notion of community
Yeah.
for like skepticism. The skeptic community.
The skeptic community.
Christ.
I, rem-
Jeez.
I think it's funny that you should say that. I was watching one of your videos and you were talking about, I think it was Angry MGTOW. And
boy.
he said the time, what was it? The time for talk is over or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and my wife were laughing our asses off. I was like, the time for talk is over. What does that mean?
Oh God. It's time to get militant. Jesus.
I mean, I'm sorry, but we
How'd you militarize MGTOW? I mean, like, because like before I continue with this joke, just so everybody is aware, I will shit all over Angry MGTOW, but MGTOW is a philosophy I don't have a problem with.
No,
it doesn't bother me.
we defend MGTOW here at HBR, even though some of them dislike this channel because there are vaginas here, but we get it. We get it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
Like how would you militarize the MGTOWs? Like, would everybody just learn how to like soldier march their own way?
yeah, that's exactly what they would do. Militarize your own way.
Yes. Okay. That's good.
Everyone is Solid Snake in the MGTOW, the military MGTOW movement.
Sure.
So
That would be great.
Allison says might be going to VidCon as well, so maybe we won't be going to VidCon. Well, we should try. I think we can. Jesus
Yep.
Christ!
It's gonna be, the thing is, like, from everybody I've talked to that's all going to VidCon, we're all gonna hang out and everything. Like, nobody actually gives a shit about VidCon. None of us do.
No, it's for meeting the other people, right?
Right? Yeah. This is a good excuse for us all to get together. I do technically have a ticket to VidCon, and I'll go in for a little bit, but then I'm probably just gonna be like, hey, let's go get drinks over there. Let's bring cameras and record a bunch of stupid shit. Like, fuck it, whatever.
You don't need a con, but since everyone's here,
Yeah.
I mean, we're hoping. Well, if I get to go, which might happen, I'm sort of low man on the totem pole. But if I get to go, then what I want to do is, other than meet all the YouTubers that I watch and I admire, I'd like to meet some of the ones that I disagree with. I want to meet Lacey.
Yeah.
And I think, and yes, oh yeah, I want to meet Lacey Green. But I'd like to talk to her just like in a casual, like, hey, what's up? We're just two people. Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons. And I think that would be great. So
I talked to her a lot. She's a really sweet person. She's a lot different than I thought she would be, 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I had a very, very distinct impression of who I thought Lacey Green was, and I was wrong. I was really, really wrong. Completely wrong. It's weird.
yeah, I figured she's probably, we were just, well, you know what? Let me ask you this.
Okay.
We're
go
going to talk
ahead.
about Lacey Green for a little bit, but not in a, oh my God, did you see what she was wearing? No, but more like her ideas. All right, so
Sure.
Lacey Green comes out, She's taken multiple month hiatus after the dreaded Donald Trump won the presidency. She just disappeared. Okay.
Yeah.
People thought, oh my God, are we winning? But no, she comes back and she's like, I think I want to start having dialogues with people on both sides of the aisle and maybe hosting streams. This is what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And we did a breaking news story on it when it happened, like a couple hours afterwards. Max and I talked about it for a bit. And Max and I both very excited that she would even do that. We think this is a great idea. We think, you should totally do this. And we got a lot of blowback from it. We got a lot of blowback in our comment section. Not, I would say maybe it's like 40% negative response to what we thought, 60% positive. And they were like, "Oh, be careful! It's a trap. She doesn't care about men's issues. She just wants to make a buck, or she's gonna take advantage of this, or whatever." Right? And I mean, I think those are fair things to say, but it is something that I had already processed when I initially heard about it, and I was like, "So." That was my first. Okay, so I'm gonna let you. What do you think about that? Do you think that there's like something that we should be worried about in terms of what? I mean, even despite you having spoken to her and know her, let's just take that out of the equation and look at it from a perspective of a person who is relatively notorious feminist, extremely popular on YouTube, suddenly decides, I want to talk to other people on the other side. I want to host debates, maybe even moderate them or whatever.
Sure. Well, okay. So the thing that I kept coming back to on it, and I was very, very, I had some skepticism about her intentions when I started talking to Blair. Skepticism, trademark. And so I was pretty worried about it. I'm like, I don't know about all this. I have some very serious concerns when it comes to Lacey Green, for instance. And I went to her personal channel and I looked at the videos and I'm like, well, this is interesting because I remember her channel being like really bad, like really, really full of really shitty videos. But most of this is all like sex ed stuff.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, it was on MTV News, Brawless. So I went and I looked at MTV News and I looked at the Brawless videos and all of them were just fucking awful, just terrible. But then on Lacey's channel, well, most of them are pretty reasonable. And I'm like, okay, well, that's strange. So I did some looking into it. And for instance, I don't know absolutely for sure about Brawless, but I know Decoded was not written by Francesca Ramsey.
No, of course not.
It was written by somebody else. So I'm pretty sure. I haven't asked Lacey about it because honestly, me and Lacey, when we talk about like movies.
Sure.
And we don't want to talk about feminism or any of that shit. Like I don't know. It just never comes up. I'm pretty sure that it was because it was written by somebody else, and it was forming the narrative of MTV News and whoever was the creative director of those shows. Then the other one that I was worried about was the DMCA's that were done.
Found out about roaming millennial, that kind of thing. Okay.
Roaming millennial and all of that. Found out 2 days ago that was all handled by a separate third-party company, and Lacey had nothing to fucking do with it. So. That again was like, okay, well, shit. I guess that's my main thing, kind of taken away. I'm feeling a little kneecapped here. So, what is their intentions? And I think Lacey is starting to experience the same thing that a lot of us are experiencing, and it's kind of a weariness with an established societal trope that's been going on YouTube. I think that. As a lot of people are getting burnt out on the constant barrage of social justice and responding to social justice, Lacey's starting to see, actually I know this for a fact, Lacey's starting to see how far social justice has gone from focusing specifically on the things that, feminism is designed for into things that feminism has nothing to do with. And it's gotten fucking nutty. And I think that's why she's come back and she's starting to listen to a lot more people. Where it's going to go, I mean, who the fuck knows? But I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that. I was thinking the same thing, and I had to really take a step back. Okay, so yes, Lacey Green is a feminist. We have debunked her work here on HBR multiple times already, but there is a pretty stark difference between the kind of feminism that Lacey talks about on her Lacey Green channel versus the kind of feminism that she talks about on Brawless. And I do get the sense that Brawless seems very constructed and she's sort of reading from a script. I'm not saying that she disagrees with it. I don't know. Like, she could have been just swept up in, MTV money or whatever. And that doesn't necessarily make it much better. But I think that at the same time, there is she could probably have done it for a while and then things didn't work out the way they did in terms of the election and everything all of a sudden. And she probably had to really think about what she had seen, not only with the election, but with the left. Like, you can't, it gets to a point where it's hard to ignore it when you look at what's going on in college campuses, what's going on with Antifa, what's going on with, people that are just trying to speak, like at Christina Hoff Sommers and Milo and whatever, the kinds of reactions. Fucking Jerry Seinfeld couldn't go to a campus because he was too offensive.
That was so bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe she's like sort of going through this process, and she's 27 years old now, I believe, and she could also be getting, sort of growing out of it. You remember the Die-Sis Scum girl? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
And then she grew out of it and was like, you know what, that was a phase, and she released a picture of herself looking very pretty and very female, and everything was cool. So this is there's a lot to it, but I think that really when I think about all the feminists that we have debunked, some of them are just exploiters and con artists like Anita Sarkeesian. Some of them are just straight up fucking nuts like Zarna Joshi. But I wonder if, Lacey comes across as someone who might be have been naive, misinformed. She was essentially expressing the coffee house brand of feminism from her own channel, which is, I should be able to not shave my armpits if I don't want to and not be judged for it or whatever, know. And it's like, okay, but feminism does come with some baggage that we at HBR do take seriously. So people in the chat think I'm giving her a pass. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying that when you compare the two, it doesn't seem completely illogical that Lacey would start to go down this road where she at least wants to look at these ideas. I would liken her journey, if she takes it honestly, it will likely end in the same way that Cassie Jays has, assuming that Lacey Green is open to going that way. As far as whether or not she will, that remains to be seen. But personally, did you want to say something?
Oh no, I was just waiting for you to finish.
Personally, the only thing that might give me pause is the only thing is that there is a possibility that maybe she will set up streams and moderate them, and it might, maybe she'll, I don't know, exercise her bias in some way. Like, this is the worst that could happen. I'm thinking worst case scenario. For example, she brings a very unqualified person to argue on behalf of the anti-feminist side and a very, very qualified person to argue on the feminist side, and she helps that person on the feminist side arguing, kind of like the debates, that's about as far as I would take it. But I think that the thing is, though, YouTube audiences are fucking smart, and they will catch that shit. Well, I would say that the people who watch the content that we create, I'll put it that way. And everybody, but I think they would be
audience,
be wise.
You're the best audience.
Yeah,
just saying, you're the best.
Honey Badger Radio has the best audience for sure. So a couple shout outs and then I'll get your response to that. Red Royals gave us £5 and says, not much, but a contribution to the VidCon drinking fund. Thank you for that. Considering California prices, I think we should be able to get a drink out of it. Zach gave us 5 and writes, hey Brian, any way I can send you a private message, an email or something? Love Jeff. I've already sent him one. Well, Zach, you can send me a well, I don't know if you can send me a PM. I'd have to follow you. So why don't you send me a message through Twitter, and then I'll follow you back. And then you can send me a thing. Okay. So anyway, what are your thoughts?
So I think I think a lot of people are missing something really important when they start talking about Lacey. There's a lot of she needs to be held to task. She needs to answer for blank. She needs to do this. And in a perfect world, when you find something that somebody has done in the past that's reprehensible, it would be great to get the perfect answer that you're always looking for. But realistically, that's not really what you're ever going to get. It takes a lot for people, even humble people, to admit when they were wrong. It's a lot easier to coax somebody into seeing something different and at least considering it, you know. And what's amazing right now, and this is what I think people are so short-sighted about. Think about it like this. Lacey Green is not just a big feminist YouTuber. She is the biggest feminist YouTuber on the planet.
Yeah.
On the planet. Out of over 7 billion people on the planet, she is the single biggest, most prominent YouTube feminist. Now, if you can have Lacey Green having an open dialogue with people that have contrary ideas to what people have perceived of her, that doesn't just open the door for an interesting conversation. It opens up a massive audience so that the things that are important to you, you can get heard more.
Yep.
So this is an amazing opportunity, whether or not, and it really honestly doesn't matter if Lacey herself becomes red-pilled and turns into the perfect weapon against feminism or some shit like that. That doesn't matter. What matters is the same thing. You can't be subversive if you're not successful. So, embrace the concept. Don't drink the Kool-Aid or anything, of course, but embrace the concept, and giving her a little bit of charity to open up the possibility costs nothing. It costs nothing, and the potential for gain is huge. So I think people should just I don't know. I think they should just chill the fuck out and like see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hit it right on the head. You know, it's not about changing Lacey Green's mind. It's about getting those 2.5 million people that watch her to think about our side of the story. It doesn't. Sure. You don't have to change your mind. And the thing is, people don't usually change their minds about something when you press them for it in the moment. You basically present your side of the story. And even if they initially disagree with you, and they call you a Nazi, and they swing at you, whatever, then walk away, like depart ways, and let that simmer. And usually, over time, the idea cooks in their brain, and suddenly they will change their mind on their own if the idea is good enough. And they will assume they'll say, "Well, I came to terms with this by myself," but you planted the seed. You know, right. You don't necessarily have to take credit for it, but that usually people's ideas are formed from seeds being planted, and they gestate and they sit there for a bit, and then those people go and they look at other stuff, and before you know it, they have a new perspective, and it had to evolve on its own, you know. Yeah. And another thing is, for the people who were basically demanding that Lacey Green apologize for stuff that she said, which some of the stuff that she said is fucked up, like when she said called Republicans rape publicans, or when she and when she made that tweet, like, you know, the post-Trump tweet where she was like, "Fuck you, white America, you misogynist, bigoted, xenophobic pieces of shit, fuck you, good night." You know, you don't have to, if you make somebody apologize for something. We wanted to bring on this one guest, Liana Kersner. Do you know who Liana Kersner is?
I do know who Liana Kersner is.
We wanted to get Liana Kersner on a Fireside Chat to talk with us. She refused to do it because she demanded that Karen apologize to her because she made a video speculating about what happened with us at the Calgary Expo in 2015. And the speculation that she did was she did a lot of presuming, and, you know, she didn't really know what was going on, but she wanted to talk about what happened at Calgary Expo. And there was a bit of projection on, you know, and sort of like she imbued some malice. She presumed some motivation on our part, which she couldn't know. Karen was very unhappy with it because when we got evicted from Calgary Expo, it took a toll, especially on Allison. Big time, right? And a lot of us flew out there. We were just meeting for the first time. This was a shock to us. However, that being said, we assumed, I assume anyway, I can't speak for everybody, that, you know, if you weren't at Calgary Expo, you don't know what was going on. But that's probably a good idea then not to presume anything. So Karen kind of went after her in the comments, called her a moron. Right. Liana K was very sensitive about it and got really upset. Then, like I don't know, a year later, we asked her if she wanted to come on as a guest for a fireside chat to talk, and she said, "I will only come on if Karen issues a formal apology on YouTube for what she said about me." And
Formal apology.
and we didn't even ask Karen, because Karen doesn't apologize for anything. So
No.
the reason,
It's one of the reasons why Karen's so awesome.
yeah,
She's
doesn't apologize for shit.
she's fiery, man.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, at least not because you demand it. That's not going to get your way. And that's the thing I'm getting at is if you, the thing is, an apology for something that someone said can come in two forms, maybe more than two, but I'm going to go with two for this example. One, they could do it because they were told that they should in order to get closer to something that they might want. So you basically say, you have to give me an apology if you want to, otherwise I'm not going to accept you moving forward with whatever it is you're moving towards. And then they say, okay, I'll apologize for it. The other reason why someone would apologize is because they really want to. They actually have remorse for what they did or said. I would over 100 times prefer that somebody apologize to me for something because they genuinely found that they did something that is worth apologizing for, something that they feel remorseful of, as opposed to, well, I guess I better do it because, you know, I'm being put on the spot here to do it. I think that that has little value because it's you're still working towards something that you want, and you're basically just, the apology is it's just an obstacle that you just want to get past.
You know, when I think about apologies, I don't know if this is rare or whatnot, but how I've always viewed apologies is I'm fine if somebody wants to apologize for me, but ultimately I want them to apologize for their own sake because they want to apologize, because I get nothing out of people apologizing. I don't really possess inside of me this feeling that I will be justified or I will be happy because see, you showed remorse. I get nothing out of that. I never fucking do.
Right.
And even more so, even if somebody apologizes, ultimately means nothing to me anyway. You know, I mentioned before, like I had been in a very abusive relationship. I almost lost my right eye from repeated kickings of the steel-toed boot. You know, I was in this god-awful relationship, and then previous to that, I had been in a relationship I got cheated on all the time. They always had the same exact thing. Lots of apologies. Lots and lots of apologies. I will never do that again. Weeping tears, prostrating, just, please, no, I'll never do it again. And, you know, it doesn't mean that behavior has changed. It doesn't mean that perspectives really have changed. It doesn't mean that the issue is actually even really addressed. For me, what means something to me, if I see something as a bad behavior that I had to suffer for, the only thing that really matters to me is if behavior does change, and that just takes time and it just takes experience with it. You know, the words don't mean shit to me. They just don't. It's one of those, like, if you want to say you're sorry for the sake of yourself, like, I understand, I appreciate that. But that's like extreme examples. You know, if there was, like, you know, it's just like, you know, your buddy fucked up. He's like, I'm really sorry about that, man. Like, yeah, no, okay, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, if an apology is a start, then it should come from a place of, like, you know, a desire to make amends, and then after that, the action is what's going to matter, right? Obviously. Yep. So behavior in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
you know, I had a pretty epic fuck up actually on YouTube a few months back. I was very drunk. I agreed to do a stream I probably shouldn't have done to begin with, and I was very mean to somebody. I was very, very cruel, and it didn't go well. It really didn't go well at all, and I felt horrible about it. I still feel horrible about it today. And I muttered a little bit of an apology for it, but ultimately I decided, because of my own behavior, like, the thing that I could do the most would be to remove myself from the situation that was causing me to be so triggered. And I thought that was the most responsible thing to do. And that's really what it comes down to is, you know, if that's the problem that's going on, it's up to you to change your behavior. It's up to you to deal with it like an adult. So
yeah, it's like what Jordan Peterson would say, you know, sort yourself out.
Yeah, sort yourself out. Seriously. So good. Based Kermit Professor, man, he's pretty great.
Yeah. So
although he said that weird shit about religion on Joe Rogan, though. That was a little strange.
what weird shit? I watched the whole Joe Rogan thing, but I want to know what part you're thinking about.
He was basically he made this like weird. I think he was just kind of filling up, conversation space. I'm not like taking him to task for it, but he basically kind of inferred like by adhering to like Western morality, you're adhering to like some sort of religiosity, thing.
I think that what Peterson has argued is that the morals that we consider to be simple secular morals have a Christian root.
Sure, it's just a weird way to say it. It was really strange,
Yeah, I hear you. I think, maybe he overreached a bit when he's like fighting the postmodernists.
Sure.
I mean,
and no matter how good of a
man.
public speaker you are, like you'll have like a little flub here and there, but people will fucking carry that shit for fucking years.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, it's just that's the nature of doing live streams. You're just, you don't have fucking paperwork in front of you. You don't have a teleprompter. You're just like talking. And that I like that. I mean, even when people stumble and a lot, which I'm fucking terribly guilty of.
I struggle with
as
it
I just did
lot.
it. Yeah. Just fucking did that. I'm sorry, Chad. I can't help myself. I'm trying to get better. I just don't like the silence, so I fill it with an
Yeah, and it kind of it's a satisfying. I've thought about that a lot too, because I fight with the ums quite a bit, and I think that it's kind of like a it's not just now I'm starting a lot too. I think it's a lot of it is trying to give you a phonetic cadence that you're talking, and you don't want to have the void, but also I feel it really reassuring because I can feel the vibration like in my skull, and it's kind of stimulating me like think. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a hug to the hippocampus.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. I like that.
Well, Jeff, it's actually been about an hour, so I guess unless you have any other questions, we could probably wrap up the show.
No, I have a lot of questions about
the
life,
universe,
the universe, and everything in it.
Everything in it. Well, the answer to that is 42, but I don't really know what the question is.
And always bring a towel, no matter what.
That's right. Don't panic. Bring a towel.
Don't panic.
So,
yeah.
Well, dude, I hope that first off, if you get to go to the Drunken Peasants, please go. But if you want to get on a real show, we do have with real people and fruit that's eaten through the mouth, then you can come on Honey Badger Radio on Friday for our epic fundraiser stream where we're going to try to get the Badgers to Australia.
Absolutely.
So, if you can, that'd be great. And you guys who are watching, if you want to prevent this horrible, horrible stream full of misogyny, racism, and xenophobia from coming on, then you're going to have to donate to Feed the Badger right now at www.feedthebadger.com.
Do it.
Our shout-outs that will appear on my little word balloon, even for going to, well, actually not for Feed the Badger, but for our Patreon, which you can also go to. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and do that. Join us there. Thanks, Jeff, so much for taking the time to come on.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you guys in the chat for watching. Otherwise, this would be super awkward. And,
shouting into the dark.
Yes, just like like the Tower of Babel. Yeah.
Oh God.
I just like doing the Peterson thing.
I love doing the Peterson voice too. It's fucking hilarious. I experience the weirdest thing, the weirdest sensation. So I'll do like an impromptu live stream on my main channel, and I get like a lot of people watching. I get excited. I'm super pumped. I'm like into it, and I love doing it. And I love performing. But then I do have like this little gaming channel that has like 1,000 subscribers. It's nothing, and I'll get on there and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play a game. And I'll look, and there's like 5 people. And I'm like, this is so weird feeling.
Yeah.
Hello out there?
No one's here.
It's weird.
That's why I'm saying, like, it's good that we have people in the chat. And I see a lot of faces that I don't know in the chat, so they must be some of your people that came over here. So
Hi, people.
We apologize in advance for for the Honey Badger stream, but you should probably subscribe to us anyway, because this is a pretty decent channel. So,
I heart the honey badgers.
Thank you, Jeff. And we will talk to you guys on the next stream. That'll probably be tomorrow. All right.